Jim Rohn said the strongest person in any room is the one who cannot be controlled by approval, fear, or guilt. These 20 signs mean you are becoming that person. 1. You pause before you respond instead of reacting instantly. The manipulator's greatest weapon is your instant reaction. The moment you introduce a pause, even 5 seconds, you take the power back. Jim Rohn said the gap between stimulus and response is where your freedom lives. 2. Guilt no longer moves you the way it used to. Guilt is only effective on people who have borrowed someone else's definition of what they owe. When you get clear on your actual obligations, manufactured guilt loses its grip completely. 3. You notice flattery without being fed by it. The person who needs compliments is easy to control. Just give them praise before you make the ask. You've started to notice the sequence. And noticing it is the beginning of being immune to it. 4. You can say no without a detailed explanation. Over-explaining is an invitation to negotiate. The moment you justify a no, you've opened the door to counter-arguments. A simple no, delivered calmly, is one of the clearest signs of inner authority. 5. You observe people's patterns, not just their words. What someone does consistently is who they are. What they say they'll do is who they want you to believe they are. You've stopped confusing the two, and that shift protects you from almost every form of manipulation. 6. You don't chase people who suddenly go cold to get your attention. Withdrawal as a power play only works if you fear the silence. When you've developed enough internal validation that silence feels manageable rather than unbearable, this tactic stops working entirely. 7. Urgency imposed by others no longer hijacks your decisions. Artificial urgency is one of the oldest manipulation tactics there is. You need to decide now almost always means, I need you to decide before you think clearly. You've started to notice the pressure and let it pass. 8. You ask questions instead of defending yourself. When someone tries to control you through accusation, the instinct is to defend. The more powerful response is to ask, what makes you say that? Questions shift the burden of proof. Manipulators hate them. 9. You've stopped trying to win arguments with people who aren't interested in truth. Some conversations are not about truth, they are about winning. The person who needs to be right doesn't want your reasoning. They want your submission. Recognizing that is when you stop playing. 10. You feel less need to justify your choices to people who didn't ask. Unsolicited explanation is a signal of insecurity. The more secure you become in your decisions, the less you feel the pull to explain them to people who have no stake in them. 11. You've learned to be comfortable being misread. Manipulation often works through the fear of being misunderstood. When you no longer need everyone to understand you correctly, that lever disappears. Jim Rohn said peace comes from within, not from others' interpretations of you. 12. Pity plays no longer obligate you to act. Someone else's suffering is real, but it is not automatically your responsibility to fix. You've learned the difference between genuine need and performance designed to produce guilt. That distinction is a form of emotional intelligence most people never develop. 13. You trust what people do over time more than what they say in the moment. Actions repeated over months reveal character. Words delivered in the right moment reveal intent. You've started weighing these very differently, and the gap between them tells you almost everything you need to know. 14. Your self-worth is no longer something other people can threaten. The most powerful manipulation tool is the ability to make someone feel small. When your self-worth is internally sourced rather than externally granted, that tool no longer has a place to land. 15. You've stopped accepting responsibility for how other people feel about your boundaries. Your boundary is not the cause of someone's anger at your boundary. Their reaction is theirs. You've begun to separate these, and that separation is one of the healthiest things a person can do. 16. You notice when someone is trying to isolate you from your support system. Control often starts with separation. The person who tries to come between you and the people who know you best is rarely doing it for your benefit. Noticing this pattern early is one of the most protective instincts you can develop. 17. You've made peace with people being disappointed by your decisions. Disappointment is not damage. Someone being unhappy with your choice is not evidence that you made the wrong one. This distinction, once clear, removes one of the most common handles manipulators use. 18. Your emotional state is no longer someone else's remote control. The person who can make you angry on command controls you in that moment. The person who can make you feel guilty controls your next decision. The person you're becoming is learning to own their emotional state, regardless of what someone else does. 19. You've started recognizing love that comes with conditions attached. Conditional love is not love, it is leverage. I will care for you if you behave this way is a control structure, not a relationship. Seeing this clearly doesn't make you cold, it makes you free. 20. You feel calmer in situations that used to destabilize you. This is the clearest sign of all. The inner stability Jim Rohn spoke about, the groundedness that no circumstance, no person, and no pressure can shake, is beginning to show up not as a concept, but as an experience. That calm is the most powerful thing you can become. The unmanipulable mind is built one morning at a time. Jim Rohn said emotional control is not a personality trait, it is a daily practice. This 60-second mindset reset builds the inner stability that makes manipulation impossible. You still find yourself saying yes when every part of you means no. Guilt and approval are still controlling more of your decisions than you'd like. You want to build the kind of inner calm that no one can shake. Love the content? Smash that like button and hit subscribe so you don't miss out. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.